Good morning. Welcome to Hot Seat. I'm Scott Mitchell with the Senate Minority Elect Leader, Senator Julia Kurt.
Thank you.
House Minority Leader, Cindy Munson. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having us.
20 years ago, Democrats walked out of the legislature, and they haven't been in charge in the majority since. Now, this week we saw the headlines, a deal was reached, but when I was talking with both of you, it's like, not everybody was at the table and agree with this. So, Senator, let's talk about the entirety of this legislative session. House and Senate Democrats do not agree with a lot of what the deal was. Help us understand at 10,000-foot level about the deal and where you're at on it.
Yeah, we participated in a lot. There was increased transparency, and we contributed and made that budget better. But the final deal definitely is among Republicans. And we know we have to demand better because we're always trying to ask ourselves if that budget is actually solving people's problems, people that we're talking to every day, and if it's putting people first over politics. So when we look at the end of the day, we have to answer those questions. And overall, no, I don't think it does.
I didn't see either one of you in those pictures of people shaking hands and smiling. Why is that?
Yeah, this is a deal that's quote unquote agreed upon between House and Senate Republican leadership. You didn't see Democratic leaders in those public discussions, those budget discussions. Like Senator Kurt said, very grateful that those have become a little bit more transparent than we've seen in the past. But with those discussions and not having the Democratic leaders there as a part of those discussions, we're really leaving out important priorities for everyday Oklahomans all across our state. And so it's important going forward that if this is the process that's going to take place, that we be included to really include all of the needs of Oklahomans and focusing on those priorities versus just one party's priorities.
All right, let's drill down into those priorities. What priorities do you say should have been on the table?
What I see missing right now, one, I had a bill that I had authored, the sales tax relief credit, that would really help everyday working Oklahomans to get some tax relief. Right now, we're all dealing with inflation. We're trying to buy groceries. We're paying our rent. We're paying our utility bills. This would have been an opportunity to invest in working families. The other piece that I feel like is missing, something that both Republicans and Democrats have been talking about, which is workforce specifically related to childcare, making sure that our families across our state have access to affordable childcare so they can get back into the workforce and support the childcare workforce industry. Those two issues are important regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat, that were not prioritized in those public discussions, and we don't see that reflected in the numbers that we have seen over the last couple of days. That, of course, were uploaded in a portal at 8 p.m. Just the other evening, and now we're getting prepared to vote on pieces of the budget on Monday, on Memorial Day, which is a first for me. In the 9 years that I've been in the legislature, I have not gone to talk budget on Memorial Day weekend.
Let's stay with the child care aspect of this. Whenever I was seeing legislation being talked about the workforce development, that was one of the top issues. I know that Chad Wormington with the chamber was here, and there was a lot of groups saying, man, this is a really important issue.
Yeah, the state chamber have been huge advocates and been out at the Capitol talking about this issue. And I'm grateful not only the state chamber, but local chambers across our state that have said if we want to increase workforce, if we want to get specifically women and working parents back into the workforce or into the workforce, we're going to have to start looking at things outside of strictly tax incentives. We need to look at ways to support families and support the workers, which I appreciate. You don't typically hear that from the chamber. And so I appreciate Chad and his team that have really prioritized this and have worked specifically with Representative Suzanne Schreiber from the Tulsa area in our caucus and have prioritized that. The unfortunate thing is that the Republicans haven't prioritized it, and that's why you have to have Democrats in the room to talk about these critical issues.
Yeah, can I add?
Yes,
I just want to add that, at the end of the day, if we say there wasn't money there, that's not fully the picture, because there was money there for some real specific incentives, which means tax breaks for big companies. We gave millions and millions of dollars away to companies, meanwhile saying that this was the priority. So I think we see in those final numbers, did we prioritize the people of Oklahoma, or did we put those big businesses first? I'm afraid it leaned towards the big businesses.
Let me ask you about she mentioned her priorities didn't get done. Thoughts about priorities that didn't get done from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we want to see our schools funded for success. And what we're seeing is we're not even matching our surrounding states' average per student. So while we've made big investments and big gains, we still aren't even reaching our neighboring states in terms of what we're spending on kids. Mental health, we did not invest like we could to increase access. People need to be able to access a doctor. We know they need that. And really, that's been the big ones that we've been concerned about.
All right, let's shift to policy for just a moment. Now, in all fairness, there's still a week to go. but policy priorities that you see that the Republicans haven't taken up that you want to get to?
Well, I'm really worried about protecting our democracy, our democratic process, the people of Oklahoma having access, being able to do initiative petitions. State questions have happened for years. Many great things have come out of state questions where the people of Oklahoma said enough. They put the Ethics Commission in place. They put term limits in place. And now there's a move to make it harder to have initiative petitions happen. And I'm really concerned about how that's going to impact people's voices up there.
Policy priorities for you?
Yeah, there were, I do want to elevate some good things. There were a few criminal justice reform policies just this last week. We passed out the Senate and the House, and the governor signed the Oklahoma Survivors Act, which that was something that Democrats and Republicans have both supported, which we're very grateful for. But there was still some more criminal justice reform measures, education, especially when it comes to higher education. But just going back to workforce, again, while it is a budget piece that we feel is missing when it comes to supporting our childcare industry, but also our families to ensure that they can access affordable childcare, there are still some policies there that we haven't really addressed when it comes to supporting working families and making sure that they can be in the workforce.
All right. If you look at, you have to be gone by Friday, the 31st, to sine die. But also there's an item on the calendar in June that not many people are paying attention to since filing, and that is the primary elections. Your thoughts about primary elections and your party's candidates? Can you be more competitive come November?
We have about a handful of candidates that will be on the primary election on June 18th. We actually have 3 seats that members from our caucus are either terming out or they're leaving the legislature, and so those are all democratically held seats, and so we're confident that those are going to continue to be held by Democrats. So beyond June 18th, we're looking to November. We have great candidates running all across the state of Oklahoma. We're targeting some seats that we really feel like are competitive, and we have Democratic candidates who are out there knocking doors, raising money, connecting with Oklahomans, talking about those everyday issues, getting away from extremist ideas, and saying, the state legislature does not reflect the voice of Oklahomans. We need to look at public education and standing up for public education, and then again, those workforce issues that are really important to Oklahomans across our state. So I'm very proud and excited of what's ahead. While session is ending, my summer and interim, I know the same for Senator Kurt, will remain very busy as we support these candidates to November 5th.
As I noted earlier, you're the minority leader-elect, and Democrats, the numbers have been dwindling in the past couple of decades. Your thoughts about the primary election and the election in November?
Well, yeah, first I'll just say that our fabulous minority leader, Kay Floyd, is terming out. That's one of the major elections this season. We celebrated her this week, and she's going to be horribly missed. There will be a primary election in her seat and several other seats where they've been drawn very Democratic. So we'll be watching for that to see who comes through. I will say for the general election, we're looking at the Republican primaries and deeply concerned because folks who only have those Republican primaries, in many of those seats, we're going to end up with more extreme candidates. And what we see is our problem-solving candidates in November, we're hoping that they're pushing to help those folks, those Republicans, come in and be held accountable. We know that when there is a general election, more people get to participate and they get to ask those questions and push their candidates to answer to their needs and their problems that they want solved. Those are the kind of folks we've recruited, community leaders, problem solvers, and we expect to see that. It's not partisan. It's about making real gains and accountability up there.
Well, thanks to you both for coming in. All the emphasis was on there was a deal struck, but I thought maybe it's not. That's not quite all the way true. Thank you for talking about your priorities and being here today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.